COVID's sort of, hopefully getting under control and all that kind of stuff, like gotta pay bills, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so if you guys are curious about the real life new MMO, it's not really a new MMO. It's been around for a long time. There have been lots and lots of updates to it. You guys should check out Reddit/r/outside. It's a really cool RPG. I highly, highly recommend it. So, yeah. We had a couple interesting, so I love hanging out with y'all before we kind of start streaming. It's like, because this is the way that I've existed on Twitch for most of my life. Like, not streaming, but, I've been watching Twitch for many, many years. And so I enjoy being a Twitch chatter.
Yo, what's up, guys?
It's fun.
Hey, shout out to...
And so we had a couple of cool comments. So it's like, a couple people, it sounds like have been sober. I guess have been, and they said that we had something to do with it. So we're thrilled that we were able to help you on your journey. And then one person sort of mentioned that they're sober for a while and also recently got diagnosed with depression. So it's interesting because I find myself talking about this a lot recently, just with different people. But I just wanted to just share a quick thought about something that we call dual diagnosis in mental health treatment.
Last time I didn't have the chat open, so that really pissed me off. But
diagnosis like depression, like the two really don't work well together. Or what I mean by that is they're sort of synergistic, but in a bad way. And this is sort of like, I guess, a little bit of a PSA, but, as an addiction psychiatrist, like, it's tricky because sometimes you'll help someone get sober. And then the problem is that, like, their depression will act up. And once their depression acts up, like, those negative feelings will actually cause them to relapse. Because a lot of times when we use substances or when we, like, use other addictive stuff like video games or pornography, we use those to alleviate negative feelings on the inside. And so as long as the depression remains untreated, it's, like, really hard to consistently stay sober. And on the flip side, things like alcohol especially and marijuana less so can lead to, like, low or depressed moods. And we can sort of see that a little bit with video games and pornography and social media and stuff. Social media can definitely lead to like default mode network activation and other kinds of contributions to depression. And so it's really tricky because you kind of have to like do both at once. Like you can't just treat the substance use disorder without treating the depression, and you can't just treat the depression without treating the substance use disorder. And sometimes what we find, just as kind of an interesting like tidbit, is I was sharing this yesterday with a group of parents. Like when I work on some inpatient facilities, sometimes we'll get people who have been like experiencing pretty bad trauma, and they'll have like an eating disorder.
Yeah, they have an eating disorder. Hey, so real quick, I was going to post a video and just delete what I didn't want out of it. But in the last stream, I got a follow from Dart Joker. And I think the last thing he chatted in there was like, hey, how's it going, man? Or sup, dude? Or, what's up, bro? Been sober for 15 years. And I want to say, man, keep it up. I know the biggest thing about stop doing something that's very negative is that every day of your life at that point is now always worrying whether you're going to relapse. Well, not worrying, but you're always thinking in your head, like, am I ever going to relapse? Am I ever going to have to, like, just take a one little sip? Or if I do one little tiny drop on my tongue, does that mean I'm going to go back to the person I was or to the situation that I was in, where I guess since you got sober, then you saw something in your life that wasn't going the way you wanted to, or it was going the way you wanted to, but it was a negative outcomes. And somebody opened your eyes to that and you were able to make the change, Darth Joker. So either way, so 15 years later, you can look back and say, oh, it's been 15 years, it's been 10 years, it's been 20 years. But then, like, there's always that, the reason we're even bringing that up, right? Because nobody's out there going around like, oh, it's been 10 years since I've had McDonald's, or it's been, 20 years since I said a bad word. Nobody's going around saying stuff like that, right? You might stop doing it, and then you just say you never do it anymore, or it's just something that's moderated to a certain extent, where you might cuss a little in this scenario, you might not cuss a little in this scenario, you might smoke a marijuana, cigarettes socially, or you might drink only when you go to parties and you really don't go to parties that much. So and then nobody really says anything about it because there's no negative aspects that nobody can just up front and come to you and say, okay, I see this is happening, you need to stop, or the therapist or whoever you're going to is going to say that. So so 15 years later, and I don't think you might get upset with me if you're watching this, but maybe you took a drink here or there, but you're still okay. You're still making it, and I think that's the whole point. It's not about that you just never touch it again, or that you never want to live that life. Because for me, I'm 25, and I'm just gonna say previous years because I don't want to talk about stuff I've done, prior to that. But previous years, I would do marijuana. And for me, the only reason that I'm sober off of marijuana, or that I don't smoke anymore, is mainly because it gives me gives me panic attacks, and I get paranoid very easily. So everybody becomes the enemy at that point. So that's why I've been able to go so many in this case, let's just say like so many years without smoking it. But in between, I have tried to moderate, just a little substance here and there, just to, get that feeling that I had before. But the panic attacks always keep me from it. But at the end of the day, I can still go around and say years, but I've still had those moments of like, okay, I felt like I needed this back in my life, and how can I get it back in my life? Or I feel like I'm grown up, I'm 2 3 years later, and I feel like I can handle it better. So why not try it? And I don't think that's a bad idea at all. And only take this advice if you have the strongest willpower, which nobody has. So I would always stress that, and I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not medically licensed in any of the things I'm saying. This is mere commentary, mere exploration of my life, my thoughts, and the world around me, and seeing how I traverse through it, and then all the options that I have to with me, all the options that have been put forth to me, and why I chose such paths. Like, why did I choose, smoking here, there, and there? Well, because I felt like I could handle it. But because of the pen attacks, I guess I'll never know. So that's keeping me clean, keeping me out of that scenario, keeping me from whatever negative effects it might put on my life or whatever the case. But let's say drinking, like I'm not a heavy drinker. I just don't like drinking, but I still drink some red wine here and there. But doctors, every time I go to the doctor, they say, even if red wine has some properties of extending your life, theoretically in the research papers based off of Res Trevo or something like that. Based off of that, that doesn't expel any of the negative effects that come with it, and that can come with it if I start to get more addicted or more into it, where I'm thinking that, hey, maybe I could take more and I can take more, and this will get me to where I need to go, or I'll be able to live longer, even though my liver is giving out. I can just replace, I can get surgery. But anyways, I'm going on a long tangent, because congratulations, 15 years, man. Let's say that. Congratulations, 15 years. Now, for you, and it's 15 years and you're doing this, so keep with that then. Something in your mind is telling you 15 years, 16 years, 17 years, I have this number, I have this thing, I have this set of life that's working for me right now. Keep at it. That's all I'm going to say. Keep at it. And everything I said in the tangent, if you heard any of that, then just, that's me putting it out there, putting the words that a lot of people don't want to say out there. And my words can honestly ruin your life. I could tell you something, you might take it into effect, might go do something that that was a bad idea or not suited specifically for you. But I want you to be open to, not open, I want you to, since you're following me, since you're listening to me, you're going to hear so many stuff that is going to be counterproductive to what you think is a proper way to live your life. Or it might be out of the norm, or it might be weird and talking, he's in his own boat and he's in his own world, he's an alien, whatever the case may be. But now that you've heard what I've said, now you don't have to feel like you're in a box. And you might say, okay, well, I don't feel like I'm in a box. Okay, great. But now you've heard that there is a different way to live. And whether you see that as a box or not, or if you see that as an opportunity for you to take, now it's a part of your life. And the biggest thing, the more you watch me, the more I'm going to keep reminding you of that. And you might come to hate me. You might come to love me. You might say, oh my God, it's so great, or you ruined my life. But at the end of the day, now you're truly free. You're truly open to, the liberties that we pursue in America, everything that we want to say and pursue in America. Now you actually have that opportunity, because now you have the knowledge. Now, I'm not saying you have the resources, but you have the knowledge to then go make the better decision, go make the worst decision, because that's what we want, right? We don't want no government coming over and telling us how to live our life. Now, of course, I think the government is great. I think the government is really good to even extend our freedoms, because, right, without a government to say that, you're not going to hurt this person, then at any time, the strongest person can come in, rip me out of my home, and then bam, I've lost my home. Somebody stronger than me just came in and take it, and then the stronger of them is going to come and take it from him, and it just keeps going like that. But now the government has given me the freedom to actually have a home, to actually settle in a spot. So I'm saying that with knowledge. without the knowledge, right? You're gonna be living your life only one way, and maybe you feel free in that case. Maybe you feel free that, oh my gosh, I don't want to know that. I don't want to hear all the extra stuff. And I would agree. I think people that are in boxes live a better life, but I don't think, or they live the life that society would say is the right one, because you're following everything that life tells you to do, or you're following all the opposite things that life are doing, but for you, there's nothing else. What else am I supposed to do? Nobody's ever taught me anything else. I've never heard anything else. I've never opened a book. I never read a podcast. I never opened my eyes to any of that. So there is nothing else. This is my life, and it's been working for me, and it works like that. But to me, you're truly not free in that case. And if you're a Republican, I hope you can live with that. If you're a Democrat, now you might say, okay, well, those freedoms that you're trying to give to the people, well, it could be hurting them. So you might be doing more worse than good. Well, fuck off. Like, I fucks with Democrats, but cancel me all you want. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna say what I gotta say. And if you don't like it, please get the hell out the channel. And if you no, really, if you like it, stick around. If you don't like it, stick around. If you like it, go somewhere else, man. Because honestly, the people that like what I have to say, go somewhere else. Go hear the other stuff that you don't like. Go fight with that. Go internalize that. Bring that into your life. So then you can say, damn, why do I hate this so much? Why don't I like what this guy is saying? Why can't I relate? Why is this so much resistance, irking me in my bones? Like, what's going on? Like, that's the stuff that we need to pursuing in life. Even for myself. Like, right now, this is all pleasure for me. Me sitting here ranting to you and telling you about the opposite, the whole ideology and thought process that you can have about how to live your life in a sense of substance abuse, and how to get past it, and where the gray lines are and everything like that. For me, that's pleasurable. What I really need to be doing is hopping off of this, maybe go writing an essay paper for some college and trying to apply for that, because I know that's going to be hard for me. That's something I don't want to do, and I think that would enrich my life even more. But monkey do. For me, in my case, listen to my words, don't follow my actions. Don't follow your pleasures. Follow the resistance. Follow the thing that just makes your stomach turn. That's true living. That's the stuff of life where you can say, oh, I tried this. I did that. I fought that. I battled through the I traversed through the wilderness, and I came out a stronger man. But just to say that, I drove my car to work. I went to work. I did what the teacher told me to do. Do that. You can do that. But if that's all you're ever doing, then you're not living, man. And fine. If you're accepting that, if now that you have the knowledge that there's an opposite way and you're accepting to take that way, then I respect you. I like you. You know what you're doing then. Because you've opened your mind, but you made a choice now. You truly made a choice. You truly stepped out and said, these are my real options, and hey, maybe this is negative, but this is what I want to do. Or maybe this is the positive thing, but it puts me in a box, but that's what I want to do. Now you're living. Now you're truly being free, and you're being the American dream that you want to be. But anyways, I went off on a tangent. I need some water after all that. But from there, got some jazz music in the background, DMCA free, reading some mail, and I guess I'm going on this whole tangent because I've listened to this. I had a stream. Dark Joker came through, followed, and I wasn't able to say thank you and say all this stuff. I'm pretty sure you saw the notification on the screen. I even missed that part, and I was actually sitting right here, but I didn't have the mic, and I didn't have my chat set up to say anything. And let me see right now, did it? After this big rant? Nope. Okay. That is fine. You will come, and I will be here to supply you with whatever you need. But going forward, I've been listening to this, having my own mental turmoils. Even had a conversation with a therapist, which was funny. I put this on early this morning around 1 o'clock, and I had an appointment with a therapist at 2:30. And so I put this on, heard some stuff, argued with a friend, maybe lost a friend, maybe gained another, actually I lost 2 people in a sense, but I say that now, but if I'm all they, anyways. And he kind of irked me in the beginning, and I think we're gonna get to it. and I'm hoping we do, or it might have already passed. But he was saying that, um, well, when we get to it, I'll point it. But I mental health is I don't know if it's a big thing in me, meaning like I have actual depression or anxiety or whatever the case may be, or I have antisocial aspects of me, or I'm bipolar, or have a personality disorder, or whatever the case may be. Whatever is truly wrong with me. Um, I know that I know that it's really hard to get out of. In my case, mine could just be I just don't want to grow up, or too immature, or I'm truly the kid that everybody calls me, even though I'm 25, and but at the end of it all, I can always tell people like I can always tell them I'm content, and if they ask me if I'm happy, I say yes, and I think that's true, because if you listen to any philosophy, happiness, or even book smarts, which I think this is where I'm getting it from, not philosophy, but I think philosophy would concur what book smarts had to say, that happiness is waking up to knowing that there's stuff that you need to fulfill, or stuff that brings you enjoyment, brings your life serenity and peace, fulfillment and enjoyment, and whatever, all those good and soulful words that we can pull out right now. So for me, I know every day I can get up and I can find something that makes me enjoy being alive, and I can also turn around and then say, okay, well, I had a bad day, I lost my girl, this happened, I got into a fight, oh, fuck all this, excuse my language, I don't want to curse too much, but I did have it 18 plus. If you if you're underage, hey, try not to cuss, but sometimes you gotta let it out. No, that's not true. Sometimes you let your emotions get a hold of you and you do something. Now the question is, after you do it, like me, I said the word, but I know who I really want to be. So I'm just not my emotions are going to take over, but I know who I want to be, or how I really want to act. So I always then go back to that. I do what is necessary. Maybe apologize, maybe correct myself. Maybe take a break, stop, because now I know I'm getting into a territory that I don't want to get into, or don't want to behave as, and you take yourself out of that situation. But and that goes back to the whole choosing. You know your paths, make the choice, and I can respect you. You do that, love you, man. Like you're a real person. I would love to mingle with, hang with, talk with, because at least in those parameters of your life, you figure that out, and maybe not everywhere else, but I can see that you have the potential to, come up with good ideas and bad ideas, and then say, hey, I want to do the bad idea, I want to do the good idea, and then I can predict how you're going to be at that point. I can't predict you if you're too ambiguous, if you're too, butterfly-y one day, and then you're a caterpillar one day, and then you're a butterfly. Like, I can't roll with you. There's just too much, for me, not enough security for me to put any of my weight into you. Because if I feel one day about you, and then I can keep that consistent, but then like I said, I'm consistent with the caterpillar, and then you bust out and become a butterfly. Well, dang, and then you bust out be a butterfly, die, reincarnate, turn into a worm, or become the watering plants, and so you're just always like just floating through life, just whatever life wants you to be, that's what you're gonna be. No, decide where you want to stay, decide where you want to plant your feet into the ground, and then I can ride with you. Oh, well, I can ride with you if you're doing, stuff I want to do, or we agree in most cases. Because, if you're trying to you're trying to hurt me, or take my girl or something like that, okay, well, I can't roll with that. But I'm not going to stop you from doing what you're doing, but I'm definitely going to be the path in your way of achieving your goals. And that's our problem. Because my goals are going to conflict with your goals, and then we're going to be clashing. But that's that as well. Dang, 19 minutes? Have I been talking for 19 minutes? I love this jazz music. We might check out the Dylan Burns. I do want to watch the Destiny. It's just a new one, so that's why I want to watch it. Anyways, let's get into Healthy Gamer. This is mental health talk / hour. I think it's about a 2-hour talk, so let's knock this out. We got it at 1.5. If it's too fast, let me know. I'll slow it down. I got text to speech on, so anybody in donates. I think right now all you can do is donate. Not really looking to be an affiliate. I got YouTube on YouTube.com. Don't have a specific URL, but I probably should add that to panels. I don't have a specific URL, but while this is playing and when I feel like I don't have to enter much, because I do think he has a lot of great advice for a lot of people. That's why we're watching. I'll probably set up that YouTube panel so you can just click on it and go to YouTube if you want to watch it a little better on YouTube. I have a Discord set up. I don't have no extra more Discord. Now I'm thinking about it, I gotta set that stuff up. So usually I play the stream, we listen to stuff, and I don't really do much talking right now because not much of an audience to preach to at the moment. So, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm gonna put on here that we can learn, and then there's some stuff I want to get into, like I want to do some Ben Shapiro, not really Steven Crowder. Ben Shapiro, I want to go back to Philosophy Tube, do some Jordan B. Peterson, of course, especially maybe even read his book, and maybe we can try to critique that, even though he's actually the psychologist, the expert, MD, not medical doctor in this case, certified or doctorate, in this case, compared to me. So React Andy. Anyways, let's get into this.
Substance use disorder and have self-injurious behavior. And so self-injurious behavior is cutting. And I know it sounds kind of weird, but all three of those help them manage like their negative emotions. And sometimes what we see in a clinical setting is like, it feels like playing whack-a-mole, where if you like put them in a facility where they like are forced to eat, then the cutting gets worse and their desire to use substances gets worse. If you make them sober, this is really, really common. Like if you go to if they go to rehab, then the eating disorder gets way worse. And so it's almost like we all have coping mechanisms that we need to use to help deal with like the internal badness that we feel. And sometimes what can happen is people will sort of have like 2 or 3 different modes, and it doesn't work to just treat one thing at a time. And so my experience, both as a mental health professional, I think this isn't really rare anymore, but I think for a long time in Western medicine, what we've done is like specialize. And from Ghost in the Shell, there's a great quote, over-specialize and breed in weakness. And so like we have addiction specialists and we have trauma specialists and we have like these kinds of specialists, which is great, right? So as you specialize in something, you get better at it and you get more focused. But I think what I found is that if you actually go to a trauma specialist, a lot of them by necessity will have to learn how to deal with addictions. And a lot of addiction specialists will have to learn how to deal with trauma. So when you're kind of thinking about your own life, I know this is sort of challenging, but you can't just fix one thing. Or you can work on one thing at a time, but recognize that, if you've been sober for a year, I think this person was like, I really applaud them because now it sounds like they're working on their depression. And they're like learning mindfulness and stuff, it sounds like. So that's great. Like that's exactly what y'all need to do is you are a whole organism. And you can't just deal with one part of yourself at a time. And if you focus on one part of yourself at a time, be careful because some of the other things may get worse. Right. So as long as you're dealing with those negative emotions, like I see this a lot, for example, with like pornography addiction and pot, where like if people, start to like stop smoking pot or they really try to get the weed under control, the pornography addiction can get worse. Or if they quit porn, it's like really, really hard to like cut back on the weed, which is totally fine. You can sort of take one step at a time, but recognize that like, ultimately, if you really want to be well, you have to deal with everything. Yeah. So, some people are saying Sag, and then someone else is saying, for instance,
So this is what got on my nerves. They're saying Sag, and it's perfect. I didn't even hear that part. But even the people in the chat are saying Sag. What are they saying? Largely depends on where you live, but yes, there are online communities. But I encourage you to see. There's something that doesn't happen. Dr. K. Isolating myself. Okay, so none of the chat are really getting into that yet. They're just saying Sage right now, meaning like Pepe hands. I assume. I've been around Twitch for almost 4 years and I'm still learning some of the terminologies, the memes. But like I said, I cope with depression by watching Twitch and isolating myself. So if he's watching Twitch, right? So now question is, how much of time are you watching Twitch? So is it an 8-hour period of time of watching Twitch? Okay, 8 hours of watching, 8 hours of sleep, hopefully. You already had 16 hours. What are you doing with the rest of the 8 hours? If you're at that point, if you're working 8 hours too, then when are you eating? When are you socializing? When are you actually, and then he says isolating. When are you doing any of the other stuff to take care of yourself, right? Cool. So we can maybe identify that Twitch is bad. unless you're not sleeping, which once again that's a bad thing. You're 8 hours sleep. I guess best case scenario 6, and if he's this is like a 5, 6 year old or 10-year-old talking like this or whatever case may be, then I think you actually need more than that. You need like 10, 12 hours really develop properly as you grow older. But so we can already identify that Twitch is a bad thing as far as like for their personal life, because they're not able to achieve the overall natural healthy lifestyle to be productive and upstanding adult, right? And then the next thing they're doing is they're isolating themselves. So now you're not even getting the social aspects, which can demean your social abilities, your pronunciation, your wordage, your social interaction, your social credit. All that is going down the drain because now you're sitting at home, hurting your back, sitting at a chair, or worst case scenario, you're looking at your phone and you're looking down onto the floor, ruining your posture. So you got two negative effects in this case, and then that's two negative effects to then cope with depression, right? Okay, cool. So you're using these two, and healthy gamer would say that okay, focus on all three. How do I do that? I'm already depressed, so that kind of adds the isolating into there. So that's just one of my symptoms. I'm depressed, so that makes me isolate. And then because I'm depressed, it makes me want to find something pleasurable that's very calorie not calorie non-burning, whatever the case may be. You're not taking in too much calories, you're not exerting too much energy, you just sit back and it does all the work for you. It's your life in a box. It's your life through the television screen. So right, so the depression is bringing on these two negative effects, and then you do have depression on top of that. So if you just handle the depression by using the Twitch and isolating, I don't think that's a possibility. But let's say, okay, cool, let's do that. Let's do all three. Well, now I'm still depressed, but now I have nothing. I don't have nothing. I can turn down the Twitch, but then and then try to go hang out with some friends, but now I might be socially rude. I might start making that part worse in my life. Now I'm actually out there being agitated, fidgetive, looking like a psychopath or whatever the case may be, while now I'm not getting enough Twitch to cope with my lack of social abilities and the depression that's going on inside me, which then coincides with my depression, making it even more worse, leading me down a worse path where now I might have bad thoughts in my head because now I don't have anything to in this case Twitch to use as a something to hold me up until I'm able to get out of this scenario. So from that, everybody's saying Sage is because it's like, okay, you can't handle one, right? Because if you handle one, then Twitch or isolating might get worse. But I would say you handle that one, Twitch and isolating gets worse, but now you don't have to worry about that no more. You don't have to worry about depression. And now all you have to do is worry about Twitch and isolating. And then you worry about the Twitch. Stop worrying about the isolating. Now, is he just saying be aware and just make sure there's nothing else negative that could be creeping up? And which, of course, while it's happening, you won't see it as a negative until, it really affects your life. Like maybe you start picking up drinking. You're like, okay, I'm a little buzzed here and there. I drink once a day. Okay, not once a day. I drink like once a week. Oh, now I'm drinking like 2-3 times a week. Okay, now I do a little wine, once a week. I mean, I'm fine. What's the problem, right? The problem is that you're not even watching that you're slowly increasing your consumption, which is going to lead to heavy withdrawal if you ever have to get off of it, because at some point you're going to get to that negative crossing point where now that the alcohol is not enough, you're drunk, you're sober, you're drunk, you're slopping over yourself, and then you wake up with a bad massive headache, hit, fight, cuss whoever you did out, and then you go right back to it. Now might not be going to work. Now your job might be trying to lay you off because you're not being productive at work anymore and stuff like that. So is he just saying be aware? Which, how do you be aware of something that's not necessarily negative at first, and then by the time you've built that habit of just a week of a month of drinking once a week, once a week, you've done that for a month. Okay, what was so bad about that? And then bam, okay, I want to do 2 times a week. What's so bad? There's really nothing bad about that, right? Okay. The bad part is the escalation that keeps happening. But how do you see that in the moment? So be aware. Okay, cool. I can hear what you're saying. Let me try to be aware. I got you. But what am I fixing at this point? If I'm tackling them all, well, what am I really fixing? How am I really? How am I getting to that neutral level to fixing on it? Anything? I'm taking it away, but now I have a desire, I have an urge, I have a fighting will to want to go back to do one of those. And it's going to happen. I'm sorry, it's going to happen. You take away all three of that, they're going to go kicking and screaming to get one of those back. And I think that's okay, right? Because now you got two, but you're about to get rid of two, but now you got one. Okay, that sounds better. But if his idea is just to be aware, okay. He did say mindfulness, okay. But how do I fix it? Tackle them all? This doesn't make sense. You don't do all your math problems at one time. You don't read all the books on your bookshelf at one time. Everything is, he says you're a whole organism. That's true. That means whatever happens up here, as above, so below. Your brain acts one way, your fingertip twitches, your leg stutter, your leg jitters, your heart beats fast. They're all working in tangent, but I can't stop them all from doing that. How do I even get to that point to stop them all from doing that without any negative effect? Not anything that's gonna have a reverse reaction somewhere else, and then that's something else I gotta add to the list. And now I'm being overwhelmed. And now I don't know how I'm going to handle this. And of course, maybe you go reach out and you go get help. But okay, what are they going to do? Put me in a straitjacket for a week or two? Now I'm resentful. Now I'm hating. Now that can work, absolutely. But now you know. Okay, just put me in a straitjacket. Okay, so I can have my pleasure for like another month. And then all I gotta do is come back here and you throw me in a straitjacket? Cool. All right. I'll take that life. You might not ever tell yourself that, but that's what you're doing. So that's tackling them all at once. I don't like that idea. But he's a professional. I don't like that. Everything takes one step at a time. It's one thought at a time. One movement, one action, one reaction. Everything happens once. In mathematical terms, it's only 0 and 1. It's either not happening or it is happening. But it's not 0 and then 1 all mashed together. All those ones mashed together to create whatever you're trying to make. No, it's at 0, 1, then it's 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1. Because it's a process. That's what I would say. But I think he would come back and say something good. And that's my real critique. But if you got through that whole tangent, I think he has the right thing to say. And maybe he might say it right when I click it, right? He said sage. So he understands that everybody's frustrated. He should understand that everybody's frustrated, that the advice he's giving them feels like, okay, well then what are my options? Or shit, damn, this sounds worse than I thought it would be, or harder than I thought it would be. Okay. But if he just thinks that saying that, oh, just handle it all at once or be aware of all of it at once, I don't think that's enough, man. And so my friend that was here when I was watching this video, she was saying that you would substitute out. So if you're handling all three, find 3 things that can substitute all those all the things that you're giving away. So if you're depressed and you're gonna dial down a little bit, or tone it back up to being more happy, then okay, cool. Take your serotonin, right? Take your SSRIs, and that gets you back to above level. Okay, cool. So you did that part. So now, and that's the easy part, right? Not really the easy part. Might have the side effects of the SSRI and it might not work, and then you got to try a different one every month or something like that, or every 6 months, and then none of them are working, so you're really just playing the waiting game at that point. But that's more of the easy part, right? take the pill. Pill's supposed to work. Now you're on a higher level. Now because you're on a higher level, the two things that because of you're in that lower level that you develop, it might be a habit, but now you're not in that same state of mind to enjoy those things. Now you feel like you can go do other things. Now you have the better ability to handle those other two items. But either way, you take your serotonin, cool. Next, you tone down the Twitch, cool, right? And then you maybe call up a friend every day. Okay, so you've added that to your repertoire. But of course, your body's having a negative reaction saying, okay, God, I'm on the phone with this person's boring me, and I just want to go back to my Twitch. and then you're watching Twitch and you're like, oh my God, I got to get off of it in the next hour. What am I going to do with myself? Oh, no. Okay, cool. My friend suggested that, okay, you're done with Twitch. What did you like on Twitch? Oh, you like D&D section. Okay. You want to end your isolating? Okay. How about, oh, you remember Tom across the street? Remember Sarah from, high school? Oh yeah, she does Dungeon and Dragons. Oh really? Okay, cool. I like Twitch made me understand that I love Dungeons and Dragons. Whether or not I love it in person is something else, but because now that you're handling all of them, now you can take that love of Dungeons and Dragons, still get that interaction of watching it, playing it, doing it at Sarah's house, at Tom's house, or girl, boy, or vice versa, right? That's a good idea. I think that is a good idea. You substitute them with something more that, not in a sense, is just ultimately just going to be the right decision and always going to be the best thing for you. Then you can get obsessed with D&D, and then once again, now you're not going to work, or you think this is going to be your income, so you drop your job or you drop whatever you're doing, and now you're just focused on this. Okay, well now you got another problem, and at that point you might have an addiction problem, but anyways, I think that's a good idea. But he never says that. He just says work on all of them. It just that really disappointed me. Like I said, I think if I talked to him, he came back on, if he heard any of my rant that I was saying, I'm pretty sure he could just simply, knock that out and say, okay, this is what you gotta do. Sorry I was ambiguous, or I left y'all hanging, I left the cliffhanger, but you're all smart, Twitch chat got it, with Dr. K. Twitch chat got it.
Cisco saying I don't want to work on anything, which I get, bro. I'm assuming you're a dude, but yeah, so how does video game addiction work as a coping mechanism? Which, by the way, I think we're going to do a little bit more content on video game addiction, because we've moved far away from that recently. But video game addiction, so if you look at what video games do to the brain, like if you think about how you feel when you play a video game, so they do a couple of different things. One is that if you feel really bad going into a video game, the video game sort of suppresses that negative emotion. It can still induce rage and tilt and stuff like that, right? But that tilt usually comes with a sense of righteousness, which is actually like a really positive emotion in a weird way. Because like when you tilt and you rage at someone else, they're so bad and you're so good, and why are they so terrible? And like you have this righteous fury towards noobs in the game, which is sort of like a very like reinforcing emotion. It's almost like this religious zeal kind of like, feeling that people get. So the first thing that gaming does, and there have been functional MRI studies, which means like studies that look at blood flow in the brain and what parts of the brain are active and what parts of the brain are turned off. And so when you play video games, it tends to shut off the negative emotional circuitry of the brain. Also tends to kind of give you this steady stream of dopamine. So you're kind of getting this like reward circuitry activated. And this is what's kind of interesting is that your reward circuitry and your hedonic circuitry, which is your circuitry of pleasure, are actually separate. So pleasure and reward aren't always correlated. In fact, they use different neurochemicals and different circuits of the brain, which is why sometimes when people like play video games, they get dopamine. But if you actually ask someone who plays like 8 hours of like a MOBA a day, if you ask them like how much fun are you having at hour 4.5, and they're like, not very much. In fact, like most of the time when I think about playing the game, it's like god awful because my teammates are terrible and I'm like rage inducing. And so then the question is like, why on earth do you play it if you're not actually having fun? And this is where people don't realize that the dopamine reward circuitry can sometimes be associated with pleasure, but there's actually a separate circuitry that has to do with hedonics and is actually associated with the endocannabinoid system. And so there's also like habit formation and things like that are going on. Maybe we can like revisit some of those topics and explain the neuroscience of video game addiction. But it suppresses negative emotions. It sort of activates your dopamine circuitry, sometimes not even activating your pleasure circuitry. And so people sort of get this reinforcement and they suppress their negative emotions, but their life feels very like flat. Like it's like if I stop playing the game, then I feel miserable. But when I play the game, I'm not really having fun. I'm just sort of like, meh. And that's what it does. Okay. All right, we can talk more about this, but we gotta hop into an interview. So today we have H. June, And before we kind of get into that, just a quick reminder. So we're going to be coming out with Dr. K's guides. Okay, so this is like sort of my take on mental health. The guides have 3 portions. One is going to be depression, one is going to be anxiety, and one is going to be meditation. And so a lot of the questions that people are asking are sort of like, this is why we made the guides, because people have these questions. We can sort of talk about this stuff on stream. We've talked about it a lot. There's stuff on our YouTube channel, but a lot of times people are looking for sort of like a comprehensive, okay, what about this, and what about this, and what about this, and what about this? And so that's the purpose of the guides, because I don't know if you guys get this, but everything that I'm saying on stream right now about like video game addiction, we've talked about like several times before. It's just really hard because we talk about it in snippets here and there.
Tasha, did you know Geico could save you hundreds on car insurance and a whole lot more? So what are you waiting for? Hip Hop Group Tag Team to help you plan dessert?
Fresh vanilla, rocky road, chocolate, peanut butter cookie.
I don't care who you are.
We all need to feel comfortable gaming.
Not like this.
Like this.
Being comfortable just
Makes gaming better.
That's why I use Tampax. I mean, think about it.
We spend so much on gaming chairs,
Beds,
couches,
clothing.
and ergonomic keyboards, all to feel comfortable.
Why wouldn't I want that for my period too?
You can use Tampax tampons for up to 8 hours.
Game on, Tampax.
We're probably looking at 2 to 4 months, TBH. But let's hop in with H June. So I think we're trying to, so here's the thing about the Dr. K's guides. We have 2 options, okay? We can go the Star Citizen route, or we can go the Cyberpunk route. So we can try to release it semi on time and have it be a steaming dumpster fire, or we can delay it indefinitely and it'll never come out, but it'll be perfect when it theoretically comes out. So this is where like we're probably gonna go somewhere in the middle, where we're gonna actually like delay it because we don't want to do a Cyberpunk launch. Okay, chat? Like I know that it's what the industry does. And I know that what we do is advertise and then, send limited copies to game reviewers so that, we're going to give them one product and then we're going to give the rest of y'all a dumpster fire that doesn't work. But none of the reviews will indicate any of those bugs. And as much as we know that that's an industry standard, and as much as we are now part of that industry, right? Because I'm a streamer now, I'm no longer a Twitch chatter. I know that that's what you guys like, and I know that this toxic, abusive relationship with pre-orders, loot boxes, and microtransactions is what y'all have come to enjoy from people like myself. But we're gonna try our best to like not quite make it that bad of a dumpster fire. And at the same time, we want to acknowledge that we also don't want to go the Star Citizen route, which is like raised $260 million 8 years ago, and where is the game? Like you can play pieces of it, and it's pretty cool, but like we don't know, right? So it's gonna be like somewhere in the middle, where we want to try to create something that is like a pretty usable product that you guys can like get benefit from. And, at the same time, we don't want to delay it indefinitely. So what it's going to do is leave everyone unhappy, but not as unhappy as you would be if we released the dumpster fire or we delayed it indefinitely. So it's like a lose less kind of situation. Okay, so chances are, hopefully, it'll be done in somewhere between 2 and 4 months. We originally wanted to release it end of May, but it's just not going to, it'll be ready, but not the way that we want it to, which we'll explain once we get closer to release. All 3 are going to be released at the same time. No, it's really back-end stuff, guys. It's about like the content is finished. So like all the filming is done. It's about like some of the programming. Okay. All right, let's hop into the interview because we're running late. H June has been waiting for us. Oh God, so loud. Junars. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello, hello?
Hello.
Oh, sorry about that. I think my mic was muted. Hello?
No problem. Can you count to 10?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Awesome.
8, 9, 10.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, man.
Awesome. Nice to meet you, Dr. K.
Nice to meet you too. What do you go by, friend?
You can call me Harrison, or you can
Okay.
call me Asian. Doesn't really matter.
What would you prefer?
I think most people call me June.
June? Okay. June it is then. Are we going to be able to... Are we doing a video interview today, June?
No. I don't usually do face cam.
Okay, sure. So then let me just make a quick adjustment. Okay. So tell me a little bit about what you'd like to talk about today and how I can be helpful.
Ooh. I think think I want to talk about like maybe 3 topics, maybe one of the 3 topics if we have enough time.
Sure.
I think one of them is like opening up in friendships and like relationships, because I feel like I can make friends really easily, but at the surface level. Because I feel like if I think of like really close friends, right, like best friends, like people usually open up about like super personal stuff. But then like I tend to never do that to other people where I talk about myself, because I feel like I don't really have a moment where I feel like I need to do that, because I feel like I deal with it alone anyways. But then because I don't do that, I feel like most friendships end up just at the surface level. And I want to change that somehow.
Why do you want to change that?
Because I want closer friends.
And what makes you want closer friends? I know it's kind of a weird question.
I think having a lot of friends is actually not as good as having a few really close friends.
So you value close friendships. Have you ever had a close friend?
Yeah, I have like close friends from high school.
Okay. Were you yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, we were able to get like, really close, but as time goes on, like you kind of drift apart, right? Because everyone goes different paths. So there's not that many times that you can like catch up with them. So you meet new friends that are, for example, like if you're a streamer, you meet other streamer friends.
And what do you think it is that makes it hard for you to open up?
I just don't feel the need to. Like, it's just like kind of random to just talk about personal stuff with someone that you just met not too long ago. Yeah,
so that's the first thing I asked you kind of a weird question, which is like, why do you want close friends? Because I think the first question is really like to think a little bit about, is there a part of you that wants to open up but can't? Or, I know this sounds kind of weird, but like another possibility is that you sort of know theoretically that like people have close friends and you've had close friends before, but it's actually not something that you actually need right now. What do you think about that?
But I think that also ties into my relationships too, where like if you don't open up to anybody, then how are you supposed to get emotionally attached to them, right?
Do you want to be emotionally attached to people?
Yeah, I think I'm not one to get like super lonely and stuff like that, but I think especially with the COVID and stuff, like I feel like if I do this, I might end up single until I'm like 40 or something.
Okay. And are you so I know this sounds weird, June, but like is the reason that you want to open up to people because you want to avoid being single at the age of 40?
No.
Why do you want to?
That is not the reason why.
Okay. That's very helpful.
No, I just feel like it's just better to have, like let's say I do have a moment where I do need people, right? Then I don't really have that moment right now, but I know later on there's eventually gonna be, moments like that where I need someone. But then like if I never did that with anyone, then it would be kind of weird to just like do it out of the blue, right?
Yeah.
But I do love listening to other people though.
Okay. So I know this is gonna sound kind of weird, June, and maybe I'm just missing something because I sometimes when I can't see people's faces, I'll like misplay a little bit. So apologies. But I'm hearing you sort of say a lot of logical reasons why it's good to open up to people. Like, what if I need someone one day? Right? So but that's kind of interesting because what I'm hearing there is that I should open up to people. So if we thought to think about like there's like what I'm hearing from you is that, in your mind you're kind of saying, it's like it's a good idea to open up and form connections with people. But there's a difference between like it being a good idea and it being something that you want.
I think I want to.
I think you do too.
But I do see it in a logical way as well.
Yep. So I think this is where like we've got to get underneath the logic to try to get at what the wanting is. Because when I ask you about your motivations, I get a logical answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. You see, I watched your interviews before and then you'd always ask why. Why do you say that? I thought that was very interesting and that was happening to me. So cool.
What? I'm confused. You just lost me.
No, you're getting to the bottom of it, and I usually don't do that with myself. And
Yeah.
I just thought that was really cool.
So I think that what we're seeing here, I know this sounds kind of weird, but June, this is going to be weird because like I'm going to try to get you to open up, right? But that's not what you want to do. You want to open up. Does that make
now
sense?
you lost me.
Yeah. So you want to be someone who wants to open up,
Yes.
but you don't actually want to open up.
I think I just don't know how to. Like, how do people get to the point where people open up?
Yeah, totally fine. So we'll try to get you there. Okay, June?
Okay.
So a big piece of this is going to be like, so when I say that you are someone who wants to be someone who wants to open up. So like you're striving to be someone who opens up, right? Because that's good and that's healthy and you just don't know how to. So if we think about, is that fair? Are we on the same page now? So if we think about what keeps people from opening up, like, so it's almost like something's holding you back. And so the blockage is between opening up, like, I don't know how to say this, but like you want to be someone who opens up. So there's something holding you back from being what you want to be. Does that make sense? So we're going to dig into that. So can you tell me about your relationships?
Like friendship wise?
You use the word relationships. I don't know what you're referring to there. Whatever you mean by that.
Oh,
word.
I meant like friendships and then, you know, also relationships, because I feel like, well, okay, just to, you know, talk about myself a little bit.
Please.
Like right out of high school, I went to college, and then around the same time, I started playing this game called Rust.
Okay.
So it's like a survival, you know, FPS kind of game. And then all I did really was, you know, play that game until like 18 to like 23.
Okay.
So basically, my entire adulthood was playing that game, and then eventually I made YouTube videos, and then I became a YouTuber, and then I started streaming, and then I became a streamer. And only recently, where, you know, I'm kind of getting burnt out of Rust, so I'm like venturing out into other games.
Okay.
And then I made a lot of like new friends. So because I made a lot of new friends, I like them a lot, and I want to get close with them, right? But because I haven't usually done that, like I don't like small talk. So like even at the first step, like it's already doomed. You know what I mean?
What? Why is it doomed? Doomed?
Because I feel like if you don't even small talk, then how are you supposed to get to the deep talk?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. So what I'm hearing you say is that, like, generally speaking, the way that relationships progress is that you have some amount of small talk, and then you progress to deep talk.
Mm-hmm.
And do you say that you don't like small talk, or are you not good at it?
I'm probably not good at it.
Okay. Where do you get that idea?
I just don't know what to say when we're talking about like surface level stuff.
Do you know what to say when you're talking about deep level stuff?
I think so. I'm really good at like listening to other people talk about deep stuff, but then when someone asks me, it's like I don't really know what to say, because let's say like someone's talking about like super emotional stuff, right? And then they ask me like, was there a very like emotional moment for you or like that? I don't really know what to say, because it's not really about like, I think this also ties to my other topic that I'll talk about with you. I feel like I'm too emotionally moderate. And what I mean by that is like, I never get like super depressed, but also I don't get super happy either.
Okay.
So like there's not that many like moments of vulnerability that I can really talk about with people.
Yeah. Do you think that that's a problem?
I think if I don't talk about stuff like that with people, then it's not really like a two-way thing, right?
And you want it to be a two-way thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I think for a second, June?
Yes.